What is going on, guys? This is the Poke Tea Time podcast where we serve you up a cup of the hottest takes on what's going on in the Pokemon community. I'm not Shivam. This is Cash Ketchum, aka Connor. It's great to have you here today. Typically, we don't have Saturday podcasts, but I wanted to make sure that we worked you into the schedule because July is a very, very busy month for myself, and I'm sure it's busy for a lot of people. But I've also just been ramping up the amount of guests and upping and ramping up the amount of quality for the channel. Name change for the channel is still happening. It'll probably be done by the end of this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. If you're listening to us through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And if you're here right now, make sure you leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. It helps the channel. We are almost monetized with this channel. But yeah, it's going pretty solid today. But how's your day going? Yeah. Well, no, it really is an honor to have you here. So, guys, not many people know who this person might be, but this is Cash Ketchum, aka also known as Connor. That's his real name. Um, when I say this, I really do mean this. It says no sound. Oh, sorry. It says that we have no sound on your end. Oh, there we go. You should be good now. This is Cash Ketchum.
Okay.
Welcome. I asked him how his day is going. He said it's been going great. He had hit the gym like literally right before coming on here, so he's very excited. Not many people know who this person might be, but just to give you guys context, I always say I probably have publicly the most rare Pokemon collection publicly. Well, when I talk about, to my knowledge, the most extensive and comprehensive shiny Pokemon collection there is, it has to belong to, I mean, that title belongs to this person right here. Connor is well known to many people in the community who are forefronts of the hobby. People like Jeremy know him. People like Cool Trainer Ryan know him. People like basically a lot of the people in the community that have been around for such a long time know who this person is. This person collects things outside of cards, and he also collects cards. So I'm really excited to have this podcast today because it's a lot different than what we typically do, because a lot of the major focus is typically behind cards. And I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and throw you guys a curveball by having a discussion about things outside of cards that's in regards to Pokemon, and why does it matter, and why is it possibly a good move for you to make right now with this current economy.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, for those guys who might know what I do, I collect a lot of figures, and I've been doing it for the past 3 years. But I want to kind of put the ball in your court and talk about how you got involved with Pokemon to begin with, and then kind of talk about when did you get back in? Because I know some people did take a break, some people might not take a break, but I know that you were frequenting LiveJournal very extensively back in 2016, and you've been on there for such a long time now. And so for those guys who do not know, LiveJournal is basically what hardcore Pokemon collectors used before Instagram was a thing, right? Before the vast majority of the Pokemon community was on Instagram, or was even making posts on Instagram, people were frequenting LiveJournal. They had their own Weebly site set up, and it was pretty much the only real way to communicate with hardcore collectors at that time when it came to answering questions, when it came to trying to finish and complete your own collection. It was just a forum. It was kind of like Reddit, but for Pokemon. Yeah, let's go ahead and, welcome Connor here into the podcast today. I'm very honored to have him here. You've probably seen him at a couple of shows already. But yeah, Connor, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the podcast. Let's go ahead and give our audience here an idea of who you are and how you got into Pokemon, and tell us about the nuances of you being in Pokemon, and work our way up to now. Let's do that.
Gotcha. So provide some context. So yeah, I mean, you're pretty spot on with everything, man. But where I kind of came from, I have always been a gamer, right? I was always, and even before that, I was more of a spectator, right? I'm the oldest of my family in the Lardinis of this generation, but my eldest brother is actually, from another family, but he was like 10 years older than me, right? And so I was always the kid watching my brother, right? Pretending with the controller plugged in, pretending I'm playing with him on the PlayStation 1 or the 64, and I think I'm playing with him, but I'm not doing anything, right? So I really got used to just being the guy watching. And then when I finally got my very first game, right? Because we had red, blue, green, even, right, from the Japanese side. I was just, he always named his Pokemon after me, Kanmon, and I
Uh,
kind of just, I was just, and so I could feel like I was playing. But then when I got my own gold, I remember that I got gold, he got silver. And ever since then, I was like, how do I step up from here? How do I evolve, digivolve from because Digimon was also my thing, which is why when I first saw you getting into Digimon, I freaked out, and ever since then, it's history from there.
yeah.
But I was like, what is the highest tier of Digivolution, right? The Mega tier, right? Mega Digimon. So I named myself Mega Con instead of just Conmon, and then
That
from
makes sense
there,
now.
because that was my original. Yeah, and so that's because I was actually originally MegaCon in all my games, right? And then I did Cash Catch 'em for the social media thing, right? Which
Hmm.
was just a medium for me to actually find the cards I needed. So where it came from was I was just a gamer and I was a shiny hunter, right? And so back in the day with shiny hunting, before YouTube was a thing, no one knew how shinies worked. We had heard about the red Gyarados, right, on the forums back when computers started just getting into people's houses, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember in my neighborhood when I was a kid, there was one kid in the neighborhood with a household computer, and we'd all go to his house and just look up forums of the Pokemon and how to get Deoxys, right? When Ruby and Sapphire were coming out, when we figured out how to get the Reggies in Braille, right? People were like, what the fuck? Like, it was insane. And so,
Yeah.
but no one knew. It was all just, it's all just hearsay. Get Mew by hitting A, B, start, select, and beating the Elite Four 6,000 times,
Or like,
right? Like,
if I know for myself in particular, my parents bought me silver version, and with that they bought me the guide, but I was like so stubborn to not read through the guide and just play it through the
yep,
game. And
yep,
so like I would end up getting stuck in goldenrod trying to get through the pseudo udo, and it's like, how
yep.
do I get past this? And then I just get
Where's
like, yeah,
Kale, yeah, the Whale Moon from the Flower Show. How are you
yeah.
supposed? And that's what I love about the old Pokemon games. You actually had to think back then. Unlike, but that's a whole nother complaint for a whole nother thing for the DB side. But and I don't even get me started on the hand holding and the recent
By the way,
generations. But
someone in the chat it said, Lucario Forever, my buddy Matt said he's in awe of your Team Rocket Returns pre-release poster because he's been searching one forever.
if he likes that, here, let me just do a quick little. We got a EX Deoxys right there as
That's
well.
a
The two
pre-release
big
too. That's
sets.
insane.
Those are, yeah, just from the pre-release. Yeah, so he wasn't lying when he said there's, as far as comprehensive outlets go, right? Like you said, there isn't, and just on the spectrum of rarity, based on right that subjective rating tier, there isn't a more diverse collection period, right? But and that's where I started getting that mindset was from like we were talking about the games. I was into shiny hunting, and I'm talking about when YouTube first came out and there's shiny hunters just kind of having their cell phone in front trying to get their live reactions. I don't know if you've ever watched people hunt shinies. It's hilarious and meme worthy, but it was so fun because I'm like getting a shiny, a 1 in 8,192, a black Charizard. This is right around the time people were still looking at the shinings from the Neo sets,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the fact that you could get that in a game was insane. And so I just went, I got to go hard on this. And so my very first shiny was a shiny Charizard back in Ruby and Sapphire, which for any shiny hunters will tell you that's ridiculous because you can't get a Charizard in Ruby and Sapphire, right? That's Fire Red and Leaf Green. And I had to do egg hunts before there was a Masuda method. Any shiny hunters will know if I went up to all the nomenclature how stupid that was. But I
Yeah.
didn't know, right? Because we didn't know anything about shiny hunting. There was no
Right.
internet. And so I started evolving, no pun intended, to getting to the point to where I actually built a mechanism that could hold 12 Game Boys. And I played them simultaneously. And because I used to play the piano. And so it was very easy for me to just kind of play them all in sync and have it not be redundant based on encounter rates and it's just a bunch of timing stuff that I had to calculate myself. And
Bro,
I would
you're a
just play it like
massive
that.
nerd.
Dude, I know it's I know that how makes it seem no like contrary, but I swear to God, there was no bigger. And dude, I was setting records back in the day, dude. As far as is documented, I had the most full odd shinies in a 24-hour period. But I didn't have any recordings, right? I was just doing it myself and watching people live do it back in 20 because I got really into it in 2000 2007 2006, 2007-ish, and then I kind of did it passively on my own
Yeah.
until 2015 in my time in the military. Came in with the special forces, worked along with them as a technician so I could do my schooling, which is why I'm here now. I'm a full-time therapist and a security guy and a trainer, all that mumbo jumbo. But during that time, I was like, I got a lot of free time. I'm just in the military, based in, New Mexico, doing my thing. But at the same time, I'm like, how do I take it up a notch?
Right.
Right. And so then I started really doing the multi-level hunting, right? The 12 Game Boys started going crazy. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I realized because this is when Pokemon started blowing up. Pokemon Go in 2016, right? And I started to see a trend. And I have a bunch of businessmen, business is kind of a big thing in my family. So I started seeing I was never about the extrinsic motivation, right? The money I couldn't give a crap about.
Right.
But I am a very competitive guy. And so my whole mindset was, how do I be the best like no one ever was? Right? How do I do that? And I knew just looking at, because I've known Scott, I've known Gary, I've known Jeremy. All these guys say I'm one of the OGs. I still feel really fresh because if you look at people like Mr. Fuji, right, or
We
even
just
Jeremy,
had
I
him.
feel like has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw. That's why I reminded me. And he just started. He was liking some of my stuff. So I'm like, oh, he's been around for so long. People like Pokeju,
Mm-hmm.
they just weren't on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were just doing their own thing. A lot of awesome guys that were doing their own thing, and they had collections that I had just because I never did TCG. Right, the VG, right, challenge running, PvP, shiny hunting, that
That
was
was more
my
of your
end. But the
emphasis. Yeah.
card, yeah, exactly. And the cards, I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna get the cards they have. I was just like, how am I supposed to do that? And so I set two goals for myself. I looked at myself in a rating system. I go, a true Pokemon master, right? A jack of all trades. I'm not gonna have the single most expensive card because due to my own personal spiritual reasons, I'm like, I don't know if I can ever spend money on. Back in the day, this was a top rated card because I could have gotten PSA 10 first edition Charizards for 2 grand a couple years ago, and I'm like, that's absurd for one because it's not even that rare. The pop is like in the hundreds at that point. I'm like, why are people paying that much for it? And then you had the trophy illustrator because I knew the guy that had the very first PSA 10 illustrator. He had pictures of it with McDonald's. Pokemon Pacific. That
Yes.
guy,
Yes. 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 Yes.
I've been, and he's gonna come in later in the story because he's the one that actually took my collection to the next level. I found him, Gurgly. I just pronounce it Gurgly because that's his that's his name. But he really helped me because at the same time I'm trying to figure out how do I take my stuff up to the next level because I'm not going to be able to attain some of these cards. I found out I was all about rarity because I
Yeah.
started to notice the trend. Value was getting kind of, I don't want to say it was being artificially pumped up, but the big heads in the community are like, hey, these cards are really awesome, really valuable. And they make a lot of logical sense. There is a reason why Charizard is so popular. I get it. There's a reason why Pikachu is so popular.
Right.
But I
Right.
started, and this is where you and I were kind of on the same wavelength, was rarity is kind of king because no matter what, objectivity will reign consistent and supreme over time. And you cannot argue the objectivity of rarity because it's never, if it's not going to get produced again, and we can have general surety that it won't, then it's only going to go up in time. It
Correct.
might not go up as much a general rate as something that's like super liked subjectively based on timeline or the culture, whatever contextual variable. But
Because that can change.
you know, of course,
Yeah.
people can start hating Charizard, which I don't know if you've noticed, people have been starting getting now. It's almost like annoying to like Charizard at this
Because you
point
just
because
see
it's
it
like,
so much.
yeah, exactly. It's become so oversaturated. I mean, when you see a first edition Charizard, even now you're like, that's awesome. Okay, right? It's like, dude, I've seen 6 million of those. Logan Paul has one engraved onto his testicles. You know what I mean? Like he has them. They're everywhere. And so I'm like, dude, that's not something that really holds value or to most people intrinsically. And that's what I tried to stick to is I'm a big rarity guy. Rarity is king. I don't see what eventually value will follow eventually, but I didn't care about value anyways. So I went, okay, shinies are the rarest thing you can get in Pokemon. That was the whole reason they put them in there. And so I was like, cool. Why don't I just be not just a shiny hunter in the game, but maybe for everything, right? So that's when I started taking a look at figures and Moncoles, Tomies, plushes, right? And then on top of that, I went, well, instead of just shinies, there are other things that are super rare that aren't shiny. For example, we have the Tamamushi Magikarp, right? Which I was a big fan of Magikarp just because I love Matt. Who doesn't love Magikarp,
I
right?
mean,
You feel so
even
bad
like
for
the
him. He's awesome.
story behind that, like with like carps in general. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I was like, that's super rare. No one's getting in on that. The illustrators, the art academies, which where I met Pokemon Pacific, I made a goal for myself. Once I started collecting these, I started getting on LiveJournal, like you said. I started posting around, and I was borderline obsessed with and I would almost say sociopathic with the detective work I had to do. I was finding these guys' actual work emails through Weebly's and then looking at their general contact and then lining up their work mail and their work email and then using their first name and searching on LinkedIn. Dude, and I found it. And I found them and I was like, sorry if I look insane, but do you still have the Magikarp, Tommy? I saw you had one on eBay 6 years ago.
Dude, that
Is
was
that
me
still do
with
you
my
know
Pokemon Snap machine. That was legit me what I did with my Pokemon Snap machine. I obsessed over it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I threw away all my pride. I had to be the best. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be like, "Hey dude, I know I'm weird. I'll pay extra. I'm just looking. I will pay you to tell me who is the neighbor of the guy you sold it to." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
please. I'm not a murderer. I promise you. You can have my fingerprints, dude. Here's my social. Just give me some information, you know what I mean? And so and that really started helping me out. And when I got into touch with a lot of the people that are, you see big now, but were never super like social about it. And
Public,
those are
yeah.
the connections, like you talked. Yeah, you know what I mean? The underground connections are where you get the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Pokemon Pacific was that guy. In my opinion, he had arguably I think he did have the greatest Japanese Pokemon collection. This dude had the PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator. This dude had he had the Grand Key, he had the key, he had the platinum medal, he had every Japanese, he had Neo first place trophies, but no one he was on E4 back in the OG days, and there were some issues with that, that's its whole
There's
thing.
always issues
But
on E4.
dude, I love a lot of the guys on E4. I do. They've always been helpful, Scott and all them. But me and Jeremy are actually talking recently. I'm not trying to start a war here, but you know what I'm saying? Like me and Jeremy were speaking about the recent culture of influx of people. It's not a particular person, right? It's not E4's fault, right? It's just more of the culture that we're getting. And I don't know if this new wave of generation, these collectors, what have you. But there's been a lot of this. There's not that OG just friendly banter and connections that you used to have back then, like on
Yeah, it
LiveJournal.
yeah, it
You
kind of
know?
goes back to I think that change is something that I've kind of focused very, very heavily on in the past like 3 months now. And that is
Mhm.
making content about the actual hobby. And I think that like conversations need to go back to that. It needs to be about cards, it needs to be about collectibles, and people just need to start reminding themselves why they came into this space to begin with. It was to collect the things that you love, make friendships, and just share that enjoyment, share that love, and hey, if your prerogative is to make money, that's totally fine as long as you're being respectful about it. And I think when it comes to demonizing a lot of those things, I think it comes down in this whole sort of cancer culture way, and it leaves no room for people to actually grow or benefit from that, right? It's like, oh, this person's a bad person, but like they didn't commit any crimes or anything of the sort, so like what's the actual problem here? And so I think this whole it needs to kind of revert back to like what you said. It needs to go back to where it was, and I kind of see why, like, Jeremy did have to take a small break from Pokemon for a little bit, because that's why he's focusing on Cryptic right now, and it makes sense, like how do you consistently participate in a hobby where the culture has shifted to where it's more about hating someone when you don't even know that person, right? Like I don't like like I don't even know you, and I've known you. I've spoken to you for a long, long time now. Like, and that's why
Mhm.
we're sitting here today. So we know who you are, and we get more contextual idea of who you are as a person. And just from this podcast, a lot of people know that, hey, this guy is a genuine person because he collects things based upon just rarity. It's not even about the value of it. It's not even about the money behind it. And so I think
Yep.
that's something that it kind of needs to go back to. But yeah, carry on.
No, I mean, dude, you're spot on, man. And like I said, I don't want to like go off on a rail and because we could talk hours and
I mean,
hours.
it
And
is a
I love.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's just like one of those things where it's just like, dude, it's so hard to like when people call me OG, I go, dude, how fast are we progressing in this age? Don't even get me started on the meta psychological general rate of change that we've had over time because of technology and the culture and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But the fact that I'm being called an OG, I'm like, and I feel old because when I talk and I go back to LiveJournal a couple years ago, dude, it's a completely different place. And people are like, LiveJournal, da da da. How did you get this? Wow, that's so old. And you see the values going up in such a fast rate. I feel like the past 6 years have been on such a fast forward, and that's a on a worldly scale, right? To where it's like, how do we even know almost like what's objective, and it's very hard, and I'm a very black and white guy when it comes to moral objectivity, and my thing is like, I don't care what your background is, I don't care what your goal is, like you said, if we're trying to make money, right? That's perfectly fine. Plenty of people try to make money. You have great collectors that have their own intrinsic value that also like to make money,
Hmm.
right? But and if you're just doing it for fun, right? That's fine. But all these people putting these rules and regulations on like what's polite and what's this, and you should be doing this and you can't be doing that. I feel like and especially, and that's fine. I'm all about having standards for politeness, and I think that there is some objectivity with how you go about communicating with people and what to expect and what's wrong, scamming, and what's not. You know what I mean? It's usually kind of obvious, but my whole thing is the lack of forgiveness and how black and white people are when it comes to just getting the information they want and that instant gratification, which I think does correlate with this whole rate of progress. We've been able to just get things immediately, and
Yeah.
therefore, if our goals aren't met in some way, then you're bad or this is bad, right? And I know that's a bit of a tangent. It's a lot of
And
vague content,
no, I
but
agree. And the one thing I kind of want to touch on is like the shift on the mentality of being a consumer when it comes to collecting, right? So we go back 3 years ago, and obviously, things were already progressing fast. Like I noticed things were already progressing fast back in 2018 because I lurked for a straight year before actually
yeah,
participating in the hobby, and I was like, wow, this is actually moving. It's moving up, and for any person that wasn't paying attention at that time, this is like right before things actually popped off. I got involved in April 2019, and I collected very, very casually. Like, one of the first items that I bought
yeah,
was a tin of Detective Pikachu right here. I want to talk about Detective Pikachu later on, obviously. Um,
yeah.
but that was the first case I bought when I kind of came back in, and I bought exactly 4 packs of Evolution. So like I was taking it very, very I was taking it very, very light. I was taking it very, very slow because for me
Mm.
at that time I was like, man, I don't want to spend $100 on a booster box. Like, that's insane. And so,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I was like, what kind of crazy person would do that? Like, and then I was like, I was even going to like local thrift shops around here, and I would get super pumped about finding like a beat up Team Rocket Eevee. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. This is from my childhood, and like, it's so different now for me because it's like, it's not really like, I'm not really desensitized, but like, I go back to what I was doing before. It's like, man, that is crazy.
we
And so
are
like,
though, dude. We are desensitized. No, that's the exact
yeah, and
word,
so
dude.
kind of go back to what I was getting at was that a lot of people today want this instant gratification of whatever they're trying to want or have, right? Like, we look at what happened, with the whole scalping issue with modern product, and it was this instant gratification of like so many people had been able to buy, booster boxes or packs, and then the moment it was just kind of a little bit more difficult or just difficult to be able to buy product, there was a lot of uproar and a lot of negativity and a lot of toxicity that was kind of introduced to the hobby. But people like myself or you or people who've kind of been around in the hobby for quite some time now, who chase after these rare things or chase after these things that take a lot of time to source out, we have a level of patience and understanding that it will eventually come back, or it will eventually hit that market, or someone will eventually put it up for sale, or that person who does have it probably might want to sell it. So let me go ahead and hit them up after 3 years. Like, that's something that we have an understanding about. And I think, you look at other hobbies, and I think a lot of Pokemon collectors are kind of in this bubble where they just don't see anything else outside of, and this is not a negative thing, but I would implore a lot of people who are in this hobby to look outwards and look at other hobbies that have been long lasting in comparison to ours, and notice how there's a level of patience there, or how there's a level of different, it's a different kind of consumer mentality when it comes to collecting. And so, like, I think it kind of needs to go back to that. But I know we just went off on a complete tangent, but yeah, let's go back to like, you frequenting LiveJournal, and what made you go on LiveJournal, and what was it that finally just made that click for you, where it's like in 2016 you saw the rise of Pokemon Go, and then you started seeing the rise of more and more people being introduced to shiny hunting. Like, what was that connection? What was that thought process between Pokemon Go and the actual collecting of physical shiny Pokemon? And like, just tell people why collecting shiny figures is a lot more difficult, or much more, like, tell them the importance of that. I think that's something that we kind of need to contextualize, because obviously we talk about cards, and the one thing that people need to understand is that you're always going to find a unlimited base set Charizard on the market. You're just going to. You always are. No matter how old it is, you're just always going to find vintage cards on the market. But when we're talking about collectibles outside of the cards that is in the Pokemon space, there are diehard collectors that are not willing to let go of whatever they have, or it's just that much more difficult to collect or source out. Like, we talk about food, people threw out food. We talk about toys, people opened that up and then their parents threw it away, or it just got destroyed, or has scuffs on it. Like, there's just so much nuances to collecting things outside of the cards, and I would love for you to kind of like touch on a lot of this different stuff to the best of your ability.
Oh, I got you, man. And you know what? You made a valid point. I'll show you right here. This binder is kind of famous around the well, I have two specific binders that are pretty famous. I've been coined the world's best binder guy at a lot of the big events like World Championships and whatnot, when E4 comes and whatnot. And that's because I keep some of the most ludicrous things in here. You can ask Jeremy, you can ask Lee. They get upset when they see some of this stuff. We're talking about I've had Tom Mushi Magikarp trophy cards in some of these binders, and the reason why I say this, right, is because in this binder, for example, there is every shiny card that has ever been made, period. First edition, every misprint. There are one-of-a-kind misprints. There is every single shiny card ever made.
Do you even have the Ken Sugimori 2002 Art Collection phone card with a shiny Charizard?
That one. So as far, I was referring to TCG. That one, okay. I know. Yeah. And so as far, and that's why I'll get on that in a sec. As far as TCG, my point is bringing this up is to go, the TCG, for as far as shinies, it was not difficult for me, or even expensive, honestly. I mean, yeah, of course, we're talking about thousands of dollars, but in the grand scheme of things for investment, right, I can sell this for tens of thousands of dollars at this point. But my point is, that was not nearly as difficult. That took me that. And obviously in the back in the day, it was a little easier because things were cheaper and whatnot. But the connections we had back then, I got all this in a matter of a couple months. Not even that hard. And I was a newbie. I was a scrub at collecting, dude. And it was shiny TCG, I'm not bagging on it. I love gold stars, and there is a if you want to talk about PSA 10 gold stars like BJ Gold Star Legends, right? I love that guy. He has a great PSA 10 collection. Those
Yeah.
that's its own too, right?
Yeah.
But people also forget I was going to be the guy that set the record for the highest price point for a PSA 10 Gold Star Rayquaza back on E4 a couple years ago when I was going to try to make it a BGS 10. I chose
Mm.
not to because some personal emergency family stuff came up, and eventually that went on to break the record again at 7,000 at that point, which was the highest. Now that sells for almost $100,000 at the peak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of ridiculous. But and mind you, this is only a couple years apart. That hilarious. But my point is that stuff was not difficult. Now, if we look at, you love this, these guys right here. These Bandai, shiny Bandai kids, I am still to this day, still trying to finish that. I luckily, as I was just telling you before we got on here, I see the Charmeleon. That's one of the ones I need. Exactly. Oh, here, I'll show you you'll like this. Here's the sealed Charizard for you. You're right. Here's the sealed
Man,
Charizard
God,
for you.
I want that.
And the sealed Charizard. Oh, and don't even get me started on. I still have all the sealed stuff, but I know you'll like this. I know
Dude,
you'll.
come on.
Oh, the sealed. I have the only documented sealed and fully documented shiny magic. A lot of people looking at this like it's a magic card, bro. You know what that is, bro, and that's 10 times more difficult than anything that has to do with the TCG. And
Tell
people are
tell tell him
like,
tell him what that was.
so that beauty was a lottery Tomy, Japanese lottery Tomy that was given out. People say, just like Tamushi Magikarp, there's up to 1,000 printed, whatever. We don't know how many actually distributed. We don't know. We know how many were printed, just like Tamushi Magikarp. We know how many were supposed to be on the lottery back then. But as far as what was actually distributed officially, and then don't even get me started on if they survived. God forbid even
Mm-hmm.
sealed, right? Because this was given out to kids, right? Just in similar to the Tamushi Magikarp, wasn't a contest, but it was just a lottery very, very early. One of the first lotteries, I believe it was early 2000s. I'd have to go up for the live journal documentation, Japanese documentation. It's been years, but that was only given out, and that one alone was if you look up online on Google Images, shiny golden Magikarp Tomy lottery, whatever. That the picture you're gonna find is
That's
mine.
yours.
The only picture is mine,
Yeah.
and I. That's what I'm. That's my point is, and I remember the sales when it was on eBay, and they're like, it's $700, it's $1,000. Who's going to pay for it? And it was up for a while because no one in the U.S. one had connections to Japan forums, right? Japanese forums, so they didn't know the context of it, why it's so popular. They just loved the Tomies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing was like, why is that so expensive? And you had to do your research. You had to go on some of the Japanese forums and translate it before that was a thing, and you had Weebly sites to do the middleman work for that. And so that to me is way more valuable, and I can say all day, yeah, that's cool that these guys have some of these trophy cards. That's awesome. That's cool. But if I want to get it, I know all the people to get it, and an Indian prince with a bunch of money can buy it, right? Things like this tier of rarity, just like we said, rarity is king. You're never going to be able to really find that. A sealed one, that's pretty much one of one. That you I maybe another one will pop up. Who knows? I don't know why it hasn't popped up in the past 15, 20 years. Maybe it will. I don't know. Someone will find it in the basement. Maybe we'll find a second Mona Lisa. I don't know. But it's one of those things that's like, why wouldn't you go into something that once people find out how valuable it is and they go, oh, I didn't even know that existed. Why wouldn't you jump on that wagon before? Especially when the prices, especially right now in this recession we're in, this is a buyer's market,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is time to buy. And so, why would you not take a look at some of these things that literally only a couple people, I know literally probably a handful of people that have a full set of just the Bandai kids. Don't get me started on the sealed your toys, the sealed shiny combat figures, right? No one has both those, and even less have all of it, right? The shiny Bandai kids, the Hasbro kids, the Moncolis, the Mirage pluses. Mirage plushes have been a thing on LiveJournal for God knows how long. We call mirages, right? Because we don't even have contextual information of where these things came from. We just think they were some company in Thailand before Pokemon Company had their trademarks and they could do infringement cases all around the world, right? Before they were big, you had apparently some plushes that were made by some company in Thailand or China that were giving them out to fairs. And so it's like, for example, this Pikachu right here, you will not find another one. Shiny parrot, you can tell usually because of the way the mouth is and the tongue based on the stitching, it was made by the same company, right? But we only have so much to guess on. That's why we call it a mirage. Like
Do you
Mew, that's where it got a reference.
do you
Go
even
on.
have like the massive the shiny Magikarp plush?
That one I chose not to get because I only wanted to. I didn't even want plushes, but my whole big thing was I just wanted an iteration of at least every single shiny, right? And so I didn't want to be
We
redundant
are
and spend money
lagging
for.
for a second right now. I'm waiting for OBS to catch back up.
Yeah, you're good.
Let's see. Okay, we should be. Yeah, we're good now. We're back. We're back. Let me see
Oh,
if it's Gucci. Yeah. So like, I asked about the whole plushie, and you said you would much rather, you kind of passed on it because you already had a shiny Magikarp. Now, just to give you
yeah,
guys an idea, lottery tomies are by far the most rare shiny figurines of a Pokemon. Well, just figurines in general in all of Pokemon history. Like, I always tout about, my shiny combat figures, and I always talk about the price points of that. And just to give you guys an idea, I bought my first ever shiny combat figure from Connor, and it was a Blastoise for $75. Okay, the next one I bought was $100, and I resold that one for $800 literally last fall. And I bought, and this is before the boom. This is like right before the boom. I bought my shiny Scyther for $3,000, because I knew that after so many different conversations with Connor here, as well as so many different just doing my own research in terms of LiveJournal and different Weebly sites. It's like, how difficult is it to actually collect a lot of this stuff? And at that time, I knew it
oh
was
yeah.
difficult. And to this day, it's still very, very difficult. I'm not even done with my shiny combat figure collection. I have 7 out of the 10, technically 6 out of the 10, because one of them, the shiny Zapdos, is definitely a reseal, but it's still complete. But I don't even know if it's a reseal. I'm going to get like AFA to check it out just to make sure it is reseal, but it looks reseal to me. It has all the red flags for it. But since it is complete, AFA will still grade it. There'll probably be a different kind of indicator saying that it was a reseal, but it still has all the parts to it. But it is very, very difficult, and not even that, it is super expensive to find stuff sealed. And not even that, even it unsealed is still fairly expensive. Like, you're talking about $50 to $100 to even $400 for a shiny Charizard with complete parts. Like, that's very difficult to do.
And that's just and I'll even stop you there. That's just because no one's as soon as people start buying that, right? As soon as people start buying that, here, one second, my door. The only reason why it's even inexpensive now is because people still haven't jumped on it. As soon as and the ones that are still online are the same ones. As soon as people go, you know what, maybe this is something to invest in. We have to implore people to invest, obviously, but it's one of those things where as soon as people are eventually going to see, oh, this is what's valuable, those are going to be gone, right? And then the unsealed are going to shoot up. And we already know how hard it is to find sealed. It's nearly impossible to find even back in the day when things were easy to look for, right? And things were cheap and whatnot. Because I remember getting my sealed Scyther, right, from like it was asking for $150 was a big thing, but I'm like, you know what? It's a good investment. I seem crazy, but I know this toy is rare because I've been searching nonstop from every avenue, and obviously as time goes on and more connections are made, things become more readily available and things like that, perhaps. But this thing was one of those things it's been around for too long to not see more come up. It's
Yeah.
like the snap cards. Obviously, we're seeing more now, but we already kind of knew it was already just based on the context of how it's distributed and what we did know. You should invest in it constantly. I remember when I was looking for the Gyarados snap card, right? I was willing to invest tens of thousands of dollars back in the day because it's like I know what that's going to be eventually. Even if
Yeah.
it sounds crazy now, the gold star requires, I know it's going to be worth. And so the yeah, you're right. I mean, everything you said is spot on. The combat figures and then if you add the condition factor, it's
Mm-hmm.
just not even comparable to TCG. How many shiny, even freaking gold star Rayquazas were produced? Thousands and tens of thousands. And yeah, there's how many are in good condition? Yeah, not obviously significantly less, but dude, there is almost an infinitesimally larger population to even expect more to pop up in good
Yeah.
condition. Even from I remember I ordered a damaged one off of what's it called? Off of not what is the TCG player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get something. Maybe I'll get it because it looked decent. I'm like, oh, maybe it just has a little crease or whatever. I'm just getting it for the binder, right? And end up being like near mint. And I'm like, bruh. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if TCG player can mess up and just be like, oh, this one, I guess this one is fine. I guess I don't know, just you can only imagine the sheer population of what to expect from the amount that were distributed and the variance of conditions you can get from it. These tomies or these have a set objective number, only this was distributed in this context. And on that context, kids played with it, they destroyed it, they opened it, da da da. How are you ever go and don't even get me started, dude. The shinies aren't even technically the lottery break shiny gold tomies, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. You
Zoroark, right? Yeah, I had to inform what's his
you're talking
name.
about the
He's like one of the
metallic
biggest
solid color metallic lottery
gold,
yeah.
yeah, the straight up gold Zoroark,
Zork,
Raichu,
Raichu,
Noivern,
yeah, yeah. I had actually, funny enough, like ever since I started collecting toys, and I've been super public about it. There's not many people that are very very public about their vintage toy collection, but I'm glad that it's starting to become more and more of a conversation that I see today. I see just the other day, someone said like, Shiv, I saw you have a shiny Charizard, and I just wanted to have it so bad that when I saw a loose one with all the parts with it was complete. I decided to buy it. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Because it was listed on eBay for $400. I don't know what he bought for it because obviously there was a best offer on there. So I'm assuming that he probably spent like $300, $200 on it. But that's still a
yeah,
lot for a loose figure. And I think, I think what we're kind of getting at right now is just to kind of put it back on to the emphasis of this actual podcast is that the purpose of all of this is to understand that us as collectors, it's always okay to look at, the hottest thing, but it's also very important to understand that if it's very, very difficult to source out, that there is already a demand behind it in other aspects. Let's say like a shiny Charizard. There's so many different shiny Charizard cards out there already. People are shiny collectors. That people are shiny hunters by default. Why is it so difficult to collect figures? Why is it so difficult to collect toys, right? We look at Daniel Arsham, right? He's an artist. He makes statues. He's a true artist, right? Just recently on Pokemon Center, I think it was last year, the year before, he put up the crystalline
yeah,
solid statues of Charizard, and they were numbered, and they sold out. We saw Basquiat do the crystalline Pikachu in the Pokeball. And so, like, what people need to understand is that when it comes to figures and figurines that are very limited and hard to source out, I think it's so important to kind of pay attention to that and not completely disregard it, right? Like, if we love Pokemon as much as we say we do, I think there needs to be a certain level of appreciation for all aspects of collecting a Pokemon and not just the cards and the cards alone, right? I think, I firmly believe that I truly believe with all my being that that shiny Charizard that I have in my back is going to outpace the value of a PSA 10 first edition Shining Charizard. I 100% believe that with all my being. I bought it for
eventually, yeah.
$1,300 in the box, and I there's no telling what I would probably sell it for today if someone were to offer for it. Granted, there's probably not many people out there that are willing to buy at the price that I would want to sell it for, but the more I grow as a content creator, the more I show it, there's gonna be more and more people that are going to appreciate that. There's already people appreciating that on TikTok. I've been doing this for
Well,
3 years now.
here's my thing. You're 100% right, because how long have trading cards been a thing?
The
Not
past
nearly as long as toys and other collectibles, dude. That's my big thing. Is that
cards have been
a
around for like
giant,
120 years now, in terms of
the
like
most baseball and all that, right?
Honus
Exactly.
Wagner
And
itself is like almost 120 years old.
yeah,
Just the card, yeah.
but you know what's even older? I don't know. Paintings. I don't know. The most expensive actual merchandise to ever been bought was, or theorized to buy, is just statues or figures of things that are also art pieces, kind of like what we have now as modern toys, right? And modern art pieces, not just little. And I'm not saying just because it's in a, I'm all for when people say, well, why would you buy a piece of cardboard? Well, you buy a freaking painting with ink in on a piece of paper for $6 million, or a shiny rock for $10 million. It's
I
all
mean,
just
I mean, the
subjective.
inverted Jenny is a stamp, and I believe the last one sold was 4 inverted Jenny stamps combined together. There was, I think the last one sold for like $6 million, and to this date, it is by far the most expensive thing by weight. Like that's insane. But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
when you really get involved, is it really that insane? Like is it really that insane for collectors to look at it like in that capacity? Like for me, I don't even have to think about Pokemon as an investment, right? For me, I looked at
Yeah,
what Star Wars was doing back in the 80s, right? So for those guys who do not know, the company that was producing and had the licensing to produce Star Wars toys was Kenner, right? And this was a company that was like that existed before Hasbro brought them out. And Kenner produced a toy that was never ever released, and that was the Boba Fett toy. The reason why is
yeah,
because it
the
presented a
rocket.
choking hazard. Yep. And loose out of the box in 2018, people were ready to pay $20,000 to $30,000 for it. Imagine it was sealed and then also authenticated, right? If it was
Oh,
authenticated, sealed, everything. If it was also if it was the right thing that wasn't released and it was in the box and sold, imagine what it would sell for today. And the thing is, the franchise itself is almost what, 40 years old now?
mm.
Probably. It's probably 40 years old now. And we look at Pokemon itself as the highest grossing media franchise in the world. Why is it so hard to believe that, this stuff won't do the same too?
Oh, 100%. And don't you get me started. The thing you just mentioned, I think they recently did find one with an actual card stock back. That same Boba, that was going, they were theorizing it, and people were willing to pay in the six-figure range. He just didn't at the moment because he thought it was worth more. So you have, as soon as someone is willing to buy it, then that's how much it's worth, right? It's whatever people want to believe it should be worth. If someone tells me, hey, there's only one of a kind of this, well, I don't. Is that worth $1 to me? Is that worth $100? I don't know. Well, someone's willing to pay $1,000. Well, I guess it's worth 1,000. I'll pay 1,500 for it. Right? It's as simple as that. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I said, I'll preface this with saying this is not the point of this conversation. I would assume is to inflate how important this is,
No,
right? And
yeah, no,
everyone
no,
needs to
no.
buy
This
into
is
it.
just. I'd say the purpose of this conversation is just to open your eyes and not be ignorant to what is going on. And I think like, I mean, honestly, like how many videos are there available, readily available right now when it comes to talking about TCGs? It's just a lot. I mean, I've had numerous
Really?
amounts of videos talking about cards, and the only reason why we're discussing price points is simply just to be factual about what we've spent, right? It's not to say like, hey, this is going to be worth more. Honestly, right now I'm probably the only person that's willing to probably spend thousands of dollars on these toys because like I'm just obsessed over it. It's something that I actually like.
Mm. Well, I would even say dude. It's you are the vocal minority, and the majority is very not vocal, right? I mean, that's how it is in politics, how it is with a lot of things. And
Yeah.
right, trust me, dude, you are not the. I have been so surprised with this underground mentality of a lot of these figures, because a lot of people do have the same impression. They just don't have the outlet, and they never thought they could, because when they just, I guess, whether it's your perspective on things, your talents, whatever, they just chose to be like, whatever, I'm just going to do it my way and kind of do it casually. And plus, it works for them because it's cheaper. I would love to, when I if I was still collecting, for it to not get hyped and be like, no,
Yeah, yeah,
bro,
yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
You want to be able to buy these things for $10, but
well, I already told you this. Like, I was in the process of making a video for these right here, but right now I'm still trying to complete the set. So like, I'm still battling the fact
good
of
on you, dude.
not making a video because I know it's going to do well. Because lately my videos have been doing pretty solid on TikTok and Instagram Reels. They've just been doing fantastically. And so for me, it's like, do I really want to screw the pooch on this one? And like, I screwed the pooch when I bought a lot of these toys to the prices that they were at, but that's the only price point that these people were willing to sell it for, right? And so many people are like, when I put up the video on Charizard, right? People are like, "Oh, you're these, normally sell for $200." I'm like, "Please tell me where collectors have these for $200. I will buy them up ASAP right now. I'll buy 5 of them right now." Like, you let me know and I'll buy it. It's like, I'm willing to spend that kind of money. And people are like, oh, you changed the market on it. And I'm like, maybe I probably did because I had such a heavy hand on it. But to say that it doesn't deserve the price point that it should be at is ludicrous to me, right? Like, I think I'm the type of person that thinks like this, right? And the reason why I think like this is super important for people who are probably watching this, who are, who only collect figurines, who don't really collect so much of the TCG, because I do get a lot of people from that kind of side who do say like, Chev, you overspent on this. And I'm like, well, no, not really. I look at what I spent for a unlimited PSA 10 Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny versus what I spent on this Charizard right here. It's vastly different. The margins are completely different.
This will be a million times rarer than I would even say every Charizard. I would even say the new 25th, even the new 25th anniversary one that just came out for the Japanese deck, right? That crazy one Jeremy and them have. There are still hundreds, maybe a couple hundred of those. That you will not find another. You might find like maybe a handful of sealed ones, right? Why is that? Well, it's because people don't want it. Really, because a lot more people played with that than they, you know what I'm saying, and wanted to play that. Maybe in Japan, right? It's not as popularized over here, but realistically, like, figures were meant to be played with and collected. Cards are meant to be battled with. So, and I'm not saying you can't still trade and collect cards, because that was also part of the thing. But this has the exact same concepts, and while it wasn't as popularized as much, it has all the same variables that make the other concept expensive.
Yeah, what makes something collectible?
Right? And to me, that question is just you. In my opinion, and it's you, what you want intrinsically, and that's what I was going to tell when it came to Pokemon Pacific, right? My original goal, right, was to be, I just wanted rarity, because as we said, I'm sorry, rarity is king. That will eventually, when you have things that are generally equal, whatever's more rare, people will go. It's just how it always has been, right? That's why diamonds are expensive, why gold's expensive, whatever. Now, with the what I originally went for in Pokemon was, okay, what's the rarest card? I even back then as a newbie, I was like, well, Pikachu Illustrator has at least 36 documented ones. Don't even get me started on the ones that weren't officially given out, but there's a bunch of makeshift prototype copies that are flying around. Same with the trophy cards. So I was like, what didn't have that? Or what is theoretically not supposed to have that is likely, right? And I looked at the ones that the Illustrator were given out for, right? The actual the actual Illustrator cards, or the ones that were made into illustration, the Art Academy, things like that, right? Obviously, Pikachu Illustrator Japanese were made for the Cora ones. These were a little different, but those technically, based on production numbers, what we could find were, and what was on the market, was rarer than a lot of trophy cards and a lot of the high-end cards. So for me, when I found out, for example, the 2009 Pichu and Arceus Illustrator cards, right? Those, at the time, what was documented, there was only 10 winners, 10, I think 12 winners, and it was said that each one got a set. That's what it was originally said. Each one got a set. So technically there was only 10 to 12 of each of these cards, period. Right? And so now we're theorizing, well, maybe more have come out. Now we're saying each person was given 10 of them, so there's 100 of each. which even if that's true, based on the numbers, actually, that's with the sales, people saying more popped up, they're all the same ones. Because I'm actually one of the few people that graded all of them and then sold them out and pieced them out. I know which serial numbers are mine, and a lot of the ones that you do see pop up are mine. Though
Yeah.
anything you see on Instagram, almost always, that was my old one. And so really it's the same one, so we don't know, but that's its own thing. But my big thing was, even if it was at 100, which I don't believe it is, that's still rarer than almost everything. And you know what the price point was for those? You know what I paid for the whole set ungraded back in 2016, 2017? I paid like $2,000 for the whole set. And I graded them, made them PSA 10s, and then for the ones I didn't want, because I only wanted the one that had Arceus and Pikachu surfing, right? Because I thought that was the funniest, coolest card ever. That was
Yeah.
my dream card. It took me 2 weeks to find Pokemon Pacific and buy it off them. I started collecting for 2 weeks and bought out the Illustrator cards. So let that just be that to me is just ridiculous. But I bought it. You know what I sold the other ones that were all PSA 10s for? $200 to $350 each, because no one was willing to buy them. And I sat there and I listened to them for $2,000 each, and I go, guys, there's only a couple of these on the planet. Objectively, there's no reason why I would sell these for cheap. I eventually sold a couple of them for like a couple $100 to some friends, right? And now I see freaking not too recently during the bubble, one of the Zoroark ones, the 2010s, which are way more common than the 2009s. Like those are the ones that I actually believe had 100 of each, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one makes more sense. One of them sold for $40,000. The PSA 10. I have the same PSA 10 one in my shoebox, right? Because I still like to keep them. And I'm like, dude, I was struggling to get $200, but just because people started liking these and they started noticing the rarity, they're willing to pay this money. If people can do this for cards, right? Which the cards, I'm sorry, were yeah, and not only that, the cards, I'm sorry, were way easier. I'm a TCG guy right now. Like I have all of the master sets, one of a kinds, plenty of them in my binders, pop ones, you name it, right? And yet all that was easier than the figures, the plushes, or even, don't even get me started, bro, on video game, actual like New York Pokemon Center serial ID numbered ones that are coded, and only a few were given out during when Pokemon Center New York was doing an event. Do you know how hard that was to get? Do you know how much back searching and detective work and straight up sociopathy I had to do to get those? That was insane. And so my whole thing is like, there's a reason why things go up in value, and it's solely because of one, rarity, which never changes, and two, what does change subjectively, as you said, is what people think is worth investing into. And
Yeah, and
the
I think
only reason why, yeah.
I was gonna say, to add, it's like the more information is available, I think that plays a huge role, because like
Oh
I
yeah,
largely credit the growth of my Instagram page, not because of cards or anything of the sort. I largely credit everything that I currently have because I was showing very, very niche things of the hobby that have a level of rarity to it, right? Like, you know, you're not going to find a cereal box from 2000 of Pokemon anymore. People threw that out. You're not going to find, like, a lot of this stuff you're just not going to find. Nowadays, not like, you can't just open up a booster box of Base Unlimited. Oh, well, you can do that. You actually can do that. You can find multiple boxes of Base Unlimited to this day, fresh. But, like, how often are you going to find a cereal box, right? How often are you going to find any of this stuff? And this isn't, like, guys, this isn't us just shitting on cards. Like, I love cards 100%. I love the artwork. I love the aspect of being able to travel with them and just show people. Like, that's, like, the coolest thing ever. And this is obviously not us pushing for, like, the aspect of people to buy this stuff. It's just providing a little bit of context as to why there are people out there that, and there is, like, and this podcast will highlight a lot of those people who are involved in that sort of community, because that community, I don't think, gets enough representation within this space, because it's always about cardboard, right? It's always about cardboard. And I think Blue Eyes Purchase says that it's not about ignorance, it's just getting it where you're coming from. Pokemon toys are still very much underrated. Yes, I fully agree. I think toys are very much underrated, and I think as this hobby grows and how there's more and more people that are getting involved in Tomies, like, I don't really collect Tomies yet because I'm so focused on finishing certain things that I currently have because I just have so many different projects that I'm trying to complete as far as collection goals that I haven't even started that. And then like once I get done with what I have, I'll be bothering Connor here for his lottery stuff like 10 years from now. And it's like, hey, I want this, sell it to me, which he probably won't because like back in 2019 and 20, I even asked to buy his shiny Scyther combat figure from him. And at that time, that was the only one known in the entire publicly. That was the like not even publicly. That was the only one known. Like there were none available. He was the only one that had it. And that is the most rare North American shiny figure there is. Period. Like there's no there like it's not Charizard, it's shiny Scyther. And he had the only one, and he would not even budge to sell it to me. It's like, dude, I have money, take my money. And he would not. He sold me, he like gave in and sold me his Blastoise, which I still have today. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's tough.
It's
tough.
And the big thing is it's the I like I said, I came in and that was I guess like the first contextual description is like I just came in and this is a crazy thing. I came in just to see if I could. That's my mentality. I like to see if I can be, I take the same mentality with the gym, I take the same mentality with like my own personal training, with everything. It's not for money, it's for me, my own intrinsic motivation to see if I can be the best or I can better myself, right? If I just happen to have the rarest thing or whatever, or have the strongest PR or whatever, that's cool. But I'm doing it just to see if I can push myself to do it. And eventually my whole goal is now that, and I was just telling you about this earlier, I'm mostly done actively collecting, right? Which I think is a perfect time, right? Not and finally, I think this is a good time because I think we're going to get the quiet before the storm again, right? When the session comes back up and COVID's done and everyone's kind of back to normal and they saw what the value of things were before. Why can't they do it now that everything's better and job markets are better eventually, right? Then it's going to blow up again, right? We know that's going to happen. So it's a good time. I'm blessed to get out at this point. But my whole thing was I was only in it to see if I could get the rarest of this, right? The rarest plush, the rarest Tomy lottery figure I have hanging up there, the rarest theme posters, the rarest lottery poster that's hanging above right here, the rarest VG, world's first surfing Pikachu online, and like these goals and the strongest this, the best this. Eventually, once that was done, I'm like, okay, what do we do now? Well, really nothing,
You're
because
about to start.
I
You're
know
about to
that
start heavy-handed in Digimon now. That's what's gonna happen.
yeah, that's okay. That is something I've been praying to the Lord. Don't let me get into like, dude, because now that the freaking trophy card came out, oh my god. Or dude, I was about to buy your Shrek thing because that's hilarious.
Oh,
I love
this
the rare.
the one of one,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Like,
You know what I want to know? So like obviously like when they print cards like this, they have a print plate involved. So like what I want to know is what did Pokemon do with their print plates? Do they just like toss them away? Do they have it locked up and sealed because they don't want people to replicate it? Because I would love to be able to have just like a base set, like even if it's unlimited, I would love to have a print plate of Charizard just sitting right here. And like what's special about this is that on the back is an actual sticker. It says that this is a one-of-a-kind printing plate that certifies this, that the attached printing plate was used in the production of Shrek trading cards and is a one-of-a-kind. Like, and it even has the Shrek trademark and the DreamWorks LLC all rights reserved on the actual sticker. Like, imagine if Pokemon did that. That'd be awesome.
And it's funny because sports cards do that. My buddies at Pokepon, Texas, right? They actually ended up getting from a collector one of the print plates from not LeBron. I forgot. It was one of the OG rookie cards from one of the Prisms, and they have the printing plate for that with it. And it was just insane how much that would go for in the tens of thousands of dollars. And it's just like if Pokemon did more stuff like that, that just branch and not even just TCG, but they can use that to derive other things. Like, look what they did with Pokemon Go and the Pokemon Go TCG set, right? And don't even get me started. People are sleeping on Pokemon Go. People are really sleeping on that.
Why do you say that?
And I only say that because, well, for one, my it's it at that point, think about it. 2016, Pokemon Go came out. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is when I was with the special, right? I was in Afghanistan, right? Things back in the day, right? We're still there, based there
Hmm.
in the war. I don't. A lot of people don't know this, and a lot of people made some memes about it in America, but around the world, even in Afghanistan, when Pokemon Go came out, there was legit like a ceasefire. The world was literally at peace for the first 2 weeks of Pokemon Go. I am not even kidding you. There was nothing bad on the news. The straight up terrorists we were fighting and interrogating, right, stopped during Pokemon Go. Whether that's because a lot of people just straight up were focused on something more positive, and the news and the constant dichotomy and the
It's amazing.
fear propaganda of the world stopped. But Pokemon Go, literally, I make a joke about it, but it really happened. It's had world peace. Like, it's not even a joke. It's literally, I was there at
I
the
was
most
I
war
was
torn place.
I was in college and I was just going around just middle of the summer because that's when it came out. Just everyone was just everywhere, just trying to like hunt Pokemon.
Old old people, young people, girls, guys, kids.
Dude,
Dude, think of a happier time than when Pokemon Go first came out. When people were just safe and chilling out with
so
people
hey,
and just
that's it's also the same year that Drake's album Summer 16 came out. You know, like that. Everyone goes back to Summer 16. You know, but no,
that's
dude,
what I'm
you're
saying.
absolutely right. Like literally on my flight back home from Miami, as soon as I touched down, there's an old a grandfather, probably in his 70s. He's like trying to catch Pikachu. Like he just turned on his surface for service. The first thing he does is tries to catch a Pikachu on Pokemon Go, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's gonna be me.
Is it Is it? Yeah, exactly. Isn't that what when Pokemon started and what Pokemon is supposed to be? It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, what your background is. You're just having fun collecting and being with people, whether it's through PvP, collecting, just interacting. Dude, and it was so nice about Pokemon because you didn't have to know Pokemon to know Go. I'll tell you this because there's also some videos done, YouTube videos done from one of the big Pokemon Go YouTubers that did some
Mhm.
videos on my account because my account is also pretty famous, right? For Pokemon Go. Like I said, I try to be top tier in all the different outlets. Pokemon Go people don't know anything about the TCG. And then the Pokemon PvP, like actual players, know nothing about the TCG, the show, the anything. People that love the show don't. And I noticed that Pokemon is very the only community because it's so big and so massive. They've created their own subsects,
Mhm.
right? Just like United. I honestly akin it's the way United States is, right? We have the United States, the biggest conglomerate, the biggest thing in the world, right? Freedom, and yet we go on one side of this on the US to the other, you will have completely different people, completely different culture, completely different way of speaking. Do it on different sides of Texas. It's the same thing. And so Pokemon is the exact same way. And I always saw, why is no one just literally trying to get the rarest, craziest, the world's first, the things for all outlets? And I tell people, not just figures, but Pokemon Go is blowing up right now. As soon as they started making it official in the TCG set, it's not just a Niantic secondary company that they're doing their own thing and they have the rights to Pokemon. They are now unanimous with it, right? And dude, I have some accounts that or some Pokemon that people would give me thousands of dollars for me to trade. That
Mhm.
just on a virtual, right? And it's the same thing with the VG, the ones I was telling you about, the numbered ones in New York Pokemon Center, right?
Yeah.
People pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for each of those little pixels, right? And we have a world database of the people that currently own them. I'm one of them. It's those things to where if things like that are now start growing, I know that figures are going to be the next big staple. I just know it. You know it. We're starting to see it. And here's my thing too. When you can say something like, "Hey, look at this Lugia first appearance card," or "Hey, look at this Pokemon Snap thing. This is awesome, isn't it?" And the price goes up 5 times immediately, that's not you messing with the market. That's you tapping into someone that's always wanted that, and you just simply brought it to their opinion. You never said artificially it should be worth $10 million. You could say, my opinion, it's super rare, and when I've seen things comparable, here's a reference,
Yeah.
but you're not saying this is what it should be. You're simply going, look at this awesome thing, and people go, I'll pay you $10,000 for that. That seems like what it should be,
That
because I
literally
know in the
happened.
video game.
That literally
Yeah.
happened to me 2 weeks after I bought my Pokemon Snap machine. When I bought my Pokemon Snap machine, I put it up. I received a either it was Facebook or it might have been Instagram. I can't remember exactly. But someone from the UK literally offered me $10,000, and that included shipping, obviously, to literally send it over to him. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then, and I'm not even lying to you when I say this. Back in 2021, John from Whatnot, and Craig, they
Yeah.
had asked me to come on to a Whatnot live with them, because originally they were going to send me a Japanese booster box of Gym. I can't remember if it was Gym Challenge or Gym Heroes. And they were gonna want me to do a break of it for Whatnot, and since it was just so late and shipping was just such a hassle at that time, they just invited me to come on a dual live stream with them, and at that time, you have Blake Martinez in the chat, you have Jessica Blevins in the chat, and so for those guys who do not know who Jessica Blevins is, she is Ninja's wife. She literally asked me to buy my Pokemon Snap machine. And at that time, funny enough, Ludwig, the COD streamer, had just he put it up on a podcast saying that he bought a Pokemon Snap machine for $20,000. That's not because me. That's not me inflating the price. That's just because he has dumb. I wouldn't call it dumb money, but yeah, he has dumb money enough to spend it on that. But it's also this understanding, knowing that, hey, this could be worth something even more. Like if a red version, a factory sealed red version first print could sell for $60,000 to $120,000, why can't this? They only made 4,000 of these. Only 4,000 of these, and a lot of these got recalled.
How many survived? How many are survived? How many are in good condition? How many people control the market? Dude, like people like you, Nicole Collector, Picabella Chew, Luna, and Miu is Me or whatever. You guys are some of the main authorities of just this merchandise and this extra stuff.
Oh, vintage
the
Pokemon
plushes,
Hunter. Yeah.
Vintage Pokemon Hunter, right? The vintage guys, the toy guys. You guys control the market publicly, right? And it's not so much that that means you guys are going to manipulate it, so much as to go, there is only one source to buy this from, people, because it's that rare, right? There's plenty of people that have trophy cards. I love, Scott has a great collection, but he is far and away not the only person that has a bunch of trophy cards. I have trophy cards. I can get a trophy card like that if I really wanted to from a bunch of different random people, right?
Yeah. There's like with a lot of this stuff right here, like I kid you not, like you could offer a lot of these people stupid amounts of money and they will still say no. That's the thing. Like when we talk about hardcore collecting and hardcore collectors will not sell off a lot of this stuff that they currently have unless it's like a duplicate, right? Like if I have a second of whatever, I'm more than happy to sell it, give it to someone who's more than happy to appreciate it, and in a way it helps grow that side of the hobby as well, right? It's not me being a sellout, but like I tell people time and time again, like this stuff right here, it's not up for sale. Like I'm not selling this stuff. I'm more than happy to pass it on to my kids. And maybe if I'm old enough and I've had my time with it and I've had enough stories with it and I've had my piece with it, then maybe I will sell it. But like right now, I'm not in any rush to sell any of this stuff that you see behind me. Like you can offer me a booster box of whatever and I will still not trade that up for it. Like, and I told this story to Min from Graded Guard last week, and I was telling him how I bought 2 Plasma Storm booster boxes in 2020 for half of the market price at that time from a card shop in Canada. At that time, market value was $1,500. I bought 2 booster boxes from that card shop for $750 a pop. I sold one for $2,100, immediately bought my Shiny Charizard combat figure. Then the Shiny Scyther combat figure popped up on eBay. I bought it privately from that person after selling my second one for $3,100. And people were calling me crazy, like, oh, Shivan's only doing this because he's a hype beast for Charizard. I was like, no, I just have much more appreciation for toys and figurines and things that I can, like, like, I love my cards and I appreciate it for what it is, but I'm more than happy to sell whatever I have to just fit the things that I want in my own personal collection. And again, I'm not trying to persuade people to collecting toys. I want people to just collect what they love, but I'm just offering this different sort of opinion, a different perspective for people to take into consideration where I hope that there's that one person that leaves this podcast or listens to this podcast and says like, oh, well, this actually makes sense versus like, oh, this is just childish. This is just dumb. Because I could say that's dumb for anyone to spend $6 million for stamps. But when you actually sit down and understand the inheritance and the importance and the history behind it, that's where the value comes from.
Yeah. And here's a big crazy thing too, right? I have one of my buddies, Ollie, right? He's just recently getting really back into Pokemon. He loves to just get into things. And so one of the things he grew up with is he likes the TCG, so he got really into that nostalgia.
Yeah.
However, he also really appreciates the Pokemon merchandise things in general because he understands the rarity behind it. He understands, and he kind of grew up with that stuff. So he understands when I paid this for this and that toy or this crazy figure of this or this rare autographed thing, right? He's like, dude, that's awesome. You should sell it. You got to post that. He's not like, oh, because believe it or not, there are other people that even unlike him didn't just grow up with TCG, right? They grew up with toys. And
Yeah.
so that's their nostalgic drive.
Yeah.
And people forget that nostalgia is one of the biggest things that drives people to that's the people that are buying these cards, this Honus Wagner for millions of dollars. People that collected it when they were a kid, and now that they have big boy money, they can buy what they want. They spend it on that, right?
Or like,
I mean,
I don't get me wrong. I feel like a lot of people today don't really know who Honus Wagner was but they understand the importance of it. That's why there's still a value behind it, right? Yeah. Like, regardless of what happens, like, I mean, Greninja was just voted the #1 most popular Pokemon for 25 years. Like out of everyone in the entire world, people voted Greninja, right? Like, regardless of what happens, when you go back to 1999 and base set had first just came out, everyone knows that obviously you're gonna collect your favorite Pokemon, but like everyone knows that you were not the coolest kid on the block unless you had a Charizard card. Like, people bragged about it. People, like, you would show it and people on the bus would like go crazy on it. Like, there's so many things behind it. And I mean, it's just all for the Fire Lizard. But like it has the same pull rate as every other holographic card in a box, And so like I just think it's all about having a certain level of appreciation behind all things Pokemon and not just being super ignorant. Well, I don't want to say ignorant. I want to say just not having that level of exposure.
Yeah, well, no, I would say ignorance because there is a difference between ignorance and stupidity, right? Ignorance is just not knowing it, and stupidity is knowing it and choosing the wrong thing anyways, right?
And that's cool with me. That's cool with me because that just means I can buy more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you know and you see it, cool, Connor. That Tomy Gold Lottery Zoroark is probably the rarest thing in Pokemon besides like even because for example, right? There are ones that are just like one-off misprint, insane rarity things, right? And we don't want to go to so side of the spectrum, just like you see this one random ink mark on this unlimited Pikachu. It's one of a kind, therefore it's super valuable. No, we're not stupid. It needs to have contextual, historical relevance. Just like a misprint obverse double dyed penny can go from, if it's a normal one, few cents, right? But if it's the misprint one that's made out of copper in 1973 instead of the nickel that all the others were, that is literally $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but based on the contextual relevancy, the rarity, the historical context, and the general market of what people really like to collect, Pikachu that was everyone knows about it, but only ever heard of, like the pre-release right, something like that, then guess what? That is going to break records because people are going to be like, they might not know it as much, so it might not go for like the Charizard price inherently, but once people know about it, they're like, oh my god, like the test print Charizard that just came out, right? I don't know if you saw that, the one with like, so it's like that should go for way more than any PSA 10 Charizard has ever done. But people don't know about it yet. But eventually, when people start understanding, oh, shoot, that's what that is for. That's what that was. That's historical. You're going to get people that are actually not just investing because of Pokemon. They're investing because they're like, dude, that's a huge part of history and relevance. might not be like, oh, no, store content ready. You know what I mean? And so that's one of those things where if you're looking at it from that perspective, why wouldn't you think the same thing of these toys, these figures, these plushes, these anything? Branch out a little bit because everyone else in the hobby has already done that. Yes, I get it. Pokemon has grown in a rate that is unprecedented. We're
Yeah.
seeing numbers that are similar to baseball cards that have been around for 5 times longer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yet we are seeing things now with Pokemon that just has never been done, right? And so, and yes, you can say that's because of some other different variables around the world historically, but right now Pokemon is something to where they hit the right type of people with the right relevancy, right mindset of collecting, battling, doing everything so it hits everyone's niche. And it's if that's true, then we got to see where the things work for Pokemon, but at the same time extrapolate it and go, well, dude, I would see that in certain figures in the Disney collection industry or the toy industry or this industry, the Star Wars industry, like you said. Why wouldn't the same thing apply for Pokemon? Oh, weird. This
Mm-hmm.
Charizard only has 20 made, right? Like the Ken Sugimori one you're talking about. There's
Right.
only a couple of those, period, and they're numbered or they're this, that's a painting. Why is that only going for $800 when
Mm.
you have this 10,000 printed Charizard TCG thing for $50,000? It's like, what, dude? I can find a good condition one very easily, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but it's really not that hard. It might be hard for like the
It,
collector
it
first getting into it,
it
you know
has
what
to
I
do
mean? But
with difficulty in terms of sourcing. We're not talking about difficulty in terms of like value, right? Like, because like let's say money
yeah,
wasn't an object, right? Let's say money wasn't an object. Let's say you had a buttload of money. I was gonna say fuck. Well, screw it, a fuckload of money. Um, chances are you're not going to find a lot of this stuff. Like you could be Logan Paul and you could put out a story saying that hi, I'm in search of this lottery, whatever prototype figurine there is, and chances are it will not pop up. Maybe it will, but chances are it probably won't pop up. We all know Dubsy Collections is probably one of the biggest collectors in the world. Just one of the cards that he is about to get back is absolutely fucking massive. And I saw it because Pokemon Enthusiast showed it to me. It's not public yet, so I can't talk about it. But it's absolutely massive. And like we can go on Dubsy's Instagram page and you can see the gold carrot Pikachu card and the statue, right? Like he is a collector. All it takes, and like, obviously there's a lot of people who don't really have a certain level of exposure to, what we're talking about. But all it
yeah,
takes is for people like him to make a massive position with just one transaction on one of those things, and that's all it will take for people to just flock to it, right? It's sort of like
yeah,
what Logan Paul did to cards, and that's all it
yeah,
does take. Because like the thing is that at the end of the day, we all love Pokemon, and I think we all can relate with each other. And like obviously the only difference is like we all have similar childhoods, but like the only difference is like the nuances when it comes to the hobby of it. Like what's something like very, very, very specific things that made you love X, Y, and Z when it comes to the hobby. But at the end of the day, we can relate to it. And the only reason why these things have stupid amount of prices associated with it is because you have hardcore people who appreciate these things and are willing to spend that kind of money. Like I kid you not. I was nervous spending $20, $30, $100 on Pokemon. But my budget is a lot larger today than what it was back then, and I'm more than happy to spend $400 on something. I just paid you $290 for these
a
things.
handful, yeah, a
Yeah, just a
handful of those,
handful.
yeah,
And I plan on buying even more. Why? Because I just love it. I am a collector. Do I plan on selling any of these? No. Like he was offering to trade me things just for this, and I said no, I can't because it's the only one that I have. I have people right now who want to buy my shiny Scyther combat figure like badly, and it's like, sorry, I cannot sell it. It's the same thing for the Blastoise. It's the same thing for my Charizard. Like there are lots and lots of people that are willing to buy it. Dude, my shiny Spinneret combat figure has 90,000 views on TikTok right now, and it's still growing in views. Right? That just means that there's
and
a
it's
lot.
it's funny, Spinarak isn't even the big one.
Yeah,
Spinarak isn't even a big one.
yeah,
People just It's exactly. It's exact and like what you said with Dubsy too. You, if he were him or Logan Paul, right? And Dubsy is even a specialist with collecting other things, right? But if he
Yes.
were to put out, hey, I need a sealed of this combat figure, or I need this of all these shiny Tomies, or I need this of even the VG or Pokemon Go thing, right? Can someone get it for me? Nope, all the money in the world is not going to get it because of the rarity and the difficulty in the context of where we are right now. And that to me, if we had to do a rating system, right? I feel like that should score a lot higher than well, because like I said, a random Arabian prince can come and buy Logan Paul's card. Is he now the biggest collector? Is he the best collector? Even if we're seeing it from that mindset of like, I want to be a good collector, because a lot of people also kind of put their pride in here, and I'm not all about saying you should be prideful about your shit. It's cardboard. It's who cares, right? There's a lot more important spiritual things to be proud of and self sufficient than this. But I also understand a lot of guys, right? I want to say guys and girls, people are very into their collection. They do it because they want to be the best like everyone ever was. That's kind of the main drive in Pokemon, to collect them, battle them, and win them all, right? To
Yeah.
win. And so if we were to use even a rating system, right? I would say, does that make Logan Paul the best Pokemon collector? Sorry, Logan, it doesn't. You're a nice guy, but dude, you are by far away not the best Pokemon collector because
Right,
you
right,
have
right.
a nice Charizard on because you bought it, right? That's cool that you made that money and you can spend it, and that's its own thing. I get it. That takes work. That's cool. Good on you for doing what you did. But you have nothing else and anything else. How can we say, even from and I'm only speaking to guys that may be minded like me, right? That are just like, I want to be the best. I want to work at this. I want to try to have a great collection I can be proud of, which is cool to an extent. That's fine. How can you say that just because it's expensive right now, that's the best or that's the this? We need to look at it from, if, like you said, money wasn't a thing as well.
I think
Could
I
you
think
get that?
I think
No.
just being a collector in itself, I think every collector is prideful of their own collection, because like,
Yeah.
why would you not be proud of what you
Yeah.
buy, right? Like, why would you like
Yeah.
how many people do you see on Instagram that have an Instagram account that are showing off whatever cards that they might have? It might be no, like, I have a friend of mine that solely collects Noivern. They are a Noivern fan, right? They just collect all the Noivern cards. And like, there might not be a whole lot of value behind it, but like, if they weren't proud of what they have, then why would they even buy it, right? Like, I think that's like the
Mm.
biggest thing.
Well,
Like,
show it. We're showing.
yeah,
Why would they show it?
why would they show it?
Right?
Or like, or
Why?
why would they even put it in their eBay card? Why would they even buy it to begin with? Like, I bought this for $7 and I'm absolutely proud of it. I love it. I love this
Oh,
card.
that's the
It's
thing.
funny. Yeah, like, I bought 15 of these, and like, people from Whatnot, I gave one of my buddies well, I sold one away for like $40. They use it in a trade up challenge, and they trade it for something for $200. Like, there are people out there that are going to appreciate certain things in various degrees.
Yeah.
Like,
Level. Yeah.
yeah, and it just, I think it just comes down to like, yeah, Logan could spend a lot of money behind it, and I mean, yeah, sure, he definitely worked for it. Like, it's not easy. Like, how
Yeah.
difficult is it to get to that point? Yeah, like, how, like, shoot, the likelihood of like even myself getting to that level, it would be beyond crazy. That's super difficult. He's one of the very few people that has been able to do that. And then like, that's the cards that he has is a fruit of his efforts. But like, is it the
Mhm.
most rare collection in the world? Is it the best collection in the world? To him, yes. But like, overall, if we're looking best things in all different categories of the hobby, what is the best plushie? What is the best video game? What is the best card? What is the best figurine,
What's
figure,
the
toy?
rarest, the hardest, the world's first? Yeah, if we had to do a
Yeah,
rating system, we'd have to do. And I like I said, I am all about, you don't need to be the best. If it's something that's awesome to you intrinsically,
yeah,
God bless you. That's all you need. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I'm merely speaking from, I guess, the that voice in the back of our head, because right, we've had all the other reasons as to why this makes sense to us, right? Pretty.
yeah.
But I'm gonna go even deeper into psyche, right, man to man, and go, dude, we do it because we want to be the best,
Hmm.
right? We want to flaunt our chest, flaunt our detective skills, our the money that we've worked hard for, our general patience and determination and endurance to go through things. That's why we collect. That's why people battle, right? That's why people do all these things in a competition. The human's been doing that forever. So if you're gonna do that, well, let's look at it objectively. How can you say? And not everyone wants to be the very best. I'm not saying you need to, but all I'm saying is for people that, and then speaking to people that have that mindset of, oh, I want to have a really cool collection. I want to show it off and be proud to say this. Then for me, and I'm just speaking from my perspective, I try to be as objective as possible, but it's like, how can you say you have the best if you just do one thing, my man? Because I go, that's awesome. That's really cool. But you really like Pokemon though, right? Yeah, I love Pokemon. Okay, you want to battle me? How's your Pokemon Go team? How's your PvP team? What about your shiny team? How about your VG? Have you done any plushes? What about this? Have you seen the show? Have you ever done this? What about your autographs? What about this? And they go, oh, well, I really like my gold stars. I go, no, that's cool. That's cool. That's all you want to do. But if you really say you really love Pokemon and you want to say you're the best collector, I would have to say, dude, where is your, you know what I'm saying? You can't say you're the world's best fighter just because you have Golden Gloves boxing, right? You can't say that. You know what I mean? And you can say, I just want to be a boxer. That's cool. I just want to be a Noivern collector. That's cool. You want to be the best Pikachu collector? That's awesome. You don't care about being the best. You're just having fun. That's awesome. But if you deep down want to be like, I want to have something proud to be, well, then I'm just going to have to say objectively, then, like anything else in any culture, in any event, anything, there should be multivariance. There should be other things
Yeah.
and encompass it. And logically, that's what other people do in every other collecting hobby. That's what people do in any hobby, period. Sports, competitions, whatever. And so I'm like, cool. Then why wouldn't you do figures? And why, yeah, it makes sense in all the other variables. Why wouldn't it make sense in this one too? So that's my whole thing. I'm not trying to say like you have to be the best and you have to be, no, because that's actually kind of why I'm also getting out of collecting, right? I'm done with what I need to, and I realize that being so obsessed with being the best, maybe that comes from maybe I don't need to have so much pride in my Pokemon things because it's Pokemon, dude. Just have fun. And that gets back to our very first topic we went on a tangent about. Why can't we just do things for intrinsic motivation in a healthy way and be healthy with other people? Isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the whole
Yeah.
point of being human?
Yeah.
Especially, isn't that the main thing about being in Pokemon? And so I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like, you need to, if you're not doing TCG, or if you're just doing TCG, you're a dummy, right? If you don't have the best figure, the best this, the best that, you're not a real Pokemon collector. Of course not. But I'm just saying, if you want, for those people that are minded to like to flaunt or like to have pride in their stuff, which is perfectly fine to an extent, depending on your priority level,
Yeah.
then try that. And if you're also wanting to branch out, there's nothing wrong with going into the figures because the figures make complete logical and objective sense why it'd be worth so much and why
Mm.
it's so awesome. And for anyone that's kind of in the middle, still try the figures. It's way
And
easier to get into. Well, I would say, yeah, it's way easier to transition into figures than it is to TCG nowadays. It's much harder though. The skill cap is skill cap to finish a T or a figure collection than it is TCG now. So it's like
correct.
it's kind
I
of like, you know what I mean? But yeah.
maybe because like nowadays like with where certain modern sets are just so massive, you're spending an exuberant amount of money just to be able to finish a master set. But like
Yeah.
you're not wrong though. Like to be able to to be able to create like meaningful, like I think that's the biggest thing about figure collecting. Like you can't just go out there like willy-nilly by yourself and figure it out on your own. Like that's impossible. You're
Nope.
going to need help. You're going to have to create meaningful relationships with people because the thing
Yep.
is that you don't know what they have. And then you know what? You don't want to be able to ruin whatever relationship you have with them because 5 years down the road, you could be buying from them. You know? It's like, oh,
Yep.
hey, I'm finally, like, I've had my piece with this. I have kids now. I want to sell this to you. Like, that literally happened to me. Both of my Scythers, dude, the non shiny Scyther combat figure is one of the most rare non-shiny combat figure variants there is. You go on
Yeah.
Bulbapedia, there are no pictures of it. Like there's no pictures of it.
Yep.
There's none. And mine's factory sealed. I see yours right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I love him. Yeah, I remember that factory sealed one. I think I know who you bought it from because that was someone that just, I think they gave me one of their spare unsealed ones. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't need it sealed. So it's like that just also shows how hard it was. You searched around the world and we found the same person.
Yeah.
And we never knew each other over
Yeah.
a better part of a decade, and yet we only found one person, both of us. That's how controlled the market is. That's how rare it is. Why would you not think to be like, you know what, figures might be kind of something investable. Maybe it is it really that crazy that a piece of cardboard sells for $1 million versus a playable figure that has much more variables to also make, or very similar variables to make it valuable? The condition concepts, the nostalgia concept, the rarity concept. Why wouldn't, and especially when the figures are more so in rarity, more so or similar in condition, and also more so in playability and nostalgia. A lot more people wanted to play with the figures than just the card game for
Well,
a lot
something
of people.
something that was actually interesting, and I'm glad you were able to come on the podcast and talk about this because it tees up one of my future podcasts very, very well. Most of you guys know who Jeremy Padower is. He is one of the co-founders of Jazzwares, and he will be coming onto the podcast. He just gave me the AOK in terms of yeah. He hit me up literally, I think it was yesterday or the day before, saying he's down to come onto the podcast, and so I want to be able to talk about that a little bit more. And he has, I'd say, outside of vintage, he probably has one of the most rare modern Pokemon toys ever, and there's only 25 of them, and they're all numbered. One out, it's like, and that is the non-released gold Pikachus that came out at, and it was a not for sale gold Pikachus that came out during the black and white era, and they only gave it out to employees. They did not sell it whatsoever, so they're still all factory sealed. I think Collectibles Guru owns one. Screw that guy. Jeremy Padower owns two. I know one of his buddies that has one up for sale, but I can't justify spending the money that he wants because he wants $5,000.
What does he have?
That's $5,000. Yeah, and he tried to say that it. But hey, it makes sense though. Like you're talking about super rich people who have things. They don't care. Like they're like, even though they might have a price point on it, if you're not at their price point, they're not going to sell to you. They're more than happy to hold on to whatever. Yeah, they'll hold on to it.
That's fine. Yeah.
Like they're in a comfortable position. Like they can have it. Like, but yeah, that's like the next thing I want.
That's awesome. I talked to Jeremy a little while ago because when he posted about that thing, he was actually under the impression that was the rarest Pokemon toy. He was no aware of the lottery, the Tony lottery, because there's only five. Period. And so like that to me, I was like, dude, have you heard about this? And he's like, oh no, I was literally not aware of that. I'm like, yeah, if you need any more information, here's this and here's that. Really sweet guy. He was very open to things. And so seems like a pretty obviously very versed collector. So it was like good talking to him. But yeah, dude, it is absolutely insane because even someone like
Let that focus in.
Some little laggy. I think it's a little laggy.
There we go. That's what.
Oh yeah, exactly. I've seen.
I want one so bad.
And so you know what? Here, you know what? I'm gonna.
I want to see a lotto. I want to see another lotto, Tommy.
I'm gonna show you. So I actually have it. So you've seen. I don't know if you've ever seen the Illustrator Zorak Illustrator card where Zorak's flying on the Ho-Oh.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, here, I'll just show you. Do you see it?
That's a plush. Oh, you have the Tommy on top of it, bro. That is insane.
Just like the Illustrator card.
So guys, this is you guys this has not has this actually been shown? Are there any actual updated versions?
Besides the actual published? Nope. Besides the actual published photo when the lottery was first getting started, there has literally never been a
And it's not even on your Instagram. It's not even on your Instagram.
Nope.
There you go, guys. This is that's massive. That's massive for the channel. Like that's almost the equivalent of like me. I don't even know what to compare it to. Like that's absolutely massive. I'm just geeking out here while you guys are like, man, it's just a toy, but it's like it's not really a toy. It's a figurine. And it's a lottery figurine. Like you're not gonna be able to find that. Dude, yeah. I had one of my buddies who wanted me to like source them out a lottery Tomy Raichu, and I'm like, dude, we're not gonna be able to find it. You're just not. Like we're not going to be able to find it.
I know the one person. I know the one person that does have it is a Raichu collector. That is the one thing she wouldn't sell. There was a whole set of them being sold a little bit after that on eBay, and no one knows what happened to it after the listing's gone. So like no one knows. Maybe someone will piece it separately on Yahoo Japan or something. It's possible, right? There's but realistically, like the Raichu is special. So the most expensive one is Zoroark. That's why I got Zoroark, because Zoroark's the most popular out of the four. So, and I love
Yeah.
who doesn't love Zoroark, right?
I don't know. I actually for me in comparison, like I would love to have the Noivern.
Noivern, yeah. That figure is also huge. Raichu is the smallest. Raichu's like this big, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the Zoroark that's like this big. The Chestnut is pretty bulky, but the
Yeah.
Noivern is like so Noivern was my second one. Noivern or Raichu was Chestnut is probably the one that's like super. It's big and bulky, but not a lot of people like Chestnut.
Yeah.
People like Raichu. A lot of girls like Raichu, Pikachu collectors, right? But realistically, which Raichu I think should get a lot more love. I love Raichu. I actually like Raichu more than Pikachu, even though I'm a Pikachu collector. But that's
I like Pichu more than Pikachu.
Oh, Pichu, dude, my best shiny, my world's first shiny surfing Pikachu that brought the shiny community by storm. Like that Pichu is sick, dude. I love Pikachu. Like I said, yeah, it goes. Pichu is awesome. Raichu is awesome. Pikachu, I love him, but he's overrated. Like it's just Pikachu, But that's
I'm just a big Johto fanboy, so I just love Pichu. It's just absolutely awesome. But yeah,
it's fun.
I kind of want to because we could easily talk for hours. Normally this podcast only lasts for about an hour, but like we're like at an hour and 44 minutes right now, which is not a bad thing. But I kind of want to touch on a few things before we end this podcast, and that's one, just to reemphasize this is very, very important. This is not to push any sort of values when it comes to figurines. Like that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to create a little bit more insight and perspective as to why there are people like myself and himself and other like this very, very underground portion of the community that does not post on Instagram as a whole about this kind of stuff. And in a way, it just feels like it's kind of like an undaunting task, but there's just not much information behind it, right? Like in terms of like these right here, these are Daisuke Club lottery figures. Like they're figures. But in terms of distribution, how was that done? In terms of all this stuff, how was it done? How many were made? Like we know that it's not a lot. We know that it's 1,000. Like according to you, based off the box, it's 1,000. It's not a lot.
1,000 to 2,000. Yeah, anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000, depending.
And that's
on
still
the
a very and it's a very, very small amount, right? Like it's just insane. Yeah, and the thing is that like as Pokemon becomes more and more popular, which it is, it's going to become popular. Like that's not without a doubt. It is, It's here to provide a level of insight, right? Like as more Pokemon cards are going to become more and more expensive, a lot of this stuff is still very inexpensive, right? Like there are still there's shiny Bandai figures on eBay right now for $30, $25. There's a shiny Cacnea on eBay for $25. Like, and Cacnea is cool. It's a third gen Pokemon. Like, why not? It's there. It's a physical version of an actual Pokemon. It's there. Like, yeah, sure, I can see it on cardboard, but like, there's a little bit of appreciation with this being 3-dimensional. Like, I can see this. I can turn this around. I can turn it around. I can pose it. I can put it. I can take cool pictures with it. I can put it outside. Yeah,
you're supposed to put it in your fingers and play with it. Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's important to just keep an open mind about certain things, not just in Pokemon, just with everything. I think it's important just to look at things just in a different light, in a different angle, and maybe you guys have a lot more appreciation behind the things that we've discussed, or maybe you'll take a look at it and you'll one day collect it. Like I know Lucaria Forever Matt was just oogling over your pre-release posters, and like there are people out there that will spend stupid amounts of money for posters. Their vintage Pokemon Hunter is $5,000
for that
release. Yeah. Vintage Pokemon Hunter is a type of person that collects high-end vintage Pokemon tees that you will never ever find. Like this is stuff that is very, very difficult to find and collect. And I
Dude,
think
welcome, Jeremy. Jeremy has one of the few things I'm waiting on for him to sell to me is his jacket, dude. Jeremy is one of the few guys that knows also about this market to go
he
out.
does. Yeah.
His collection is insane,
Same.
dude. His
Yeah.
merchandise, same with the Pokemon Radar. Beautiful. His tees, you too. You guys always have the sickest drip, right? Like that, and people are willing to pay thousands for that. But realistically, it should be more. I'm sorry, it should be more. When Jeremy goes, "Hey, this, I'm thinking a couple grand for this," I'm like, I understand. I would expect more. It's completely fine. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So you're right, dude. 100%. You are right on the money. So
It'll eventually get
I
there. It's
agree.
just all about a timing thing, and you know what person out there is willing to push things over the top, right? Like I did that with Pokemon Combat figures, right? I was willing to spend $1,300 for a toy. I was willing to spend $3,000 for a toy. Like people call me crazy, and I'm like, hey, that's on you, man. Like that's not on me. I'm more than happy to collect this because I know when compared to cards as a whole. Let me get focus. Yeah, there we go. In comparison to cards,
There you
these
go.
are fairly inexpensive. There we go.
Yeah,
No, it's not
you
gonna work.
gave this-
But no, I think it's there. I think like the comparisons there's like, okay, like this card is worth $5,000, but I see 6 of them every single time when I open up eBay or I see it on an auction block every single month. Okay, cool. This toy, $5,000. I haven't seen it in 3 years. I'm buying it.
Yep,
It's a no-brainer for me.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, dude, and it's not even just shiny figures, right? Like for me being such an avid, like, hardcore Pokemon toy collector, you know, vintage Pokemon hunter, found a factory sealed 2005 10th anniversary Lugia, right? It's a Target exclusive. It's not one of the and that's probably more rare than the Hasbro Deluxe Lugia figure factory sealed. And I have not seen any but his, and I've asked to buy it from him. Like, he knows that I want it. He knows that I'm a Lugia collector. And other people who do have the factory sealed Lugia Hasbro figure, I've seen 3 hit the market. I've seen 3 on Instagram since. One is in the UK. Another person here in the States bought it. And the other one I bought and basically sent it off to a friend because he needed that in his collection. That was a grail of his. And so, like, for me, it's like, people just don't want to sell this stuff. There's just a lot more fond memories with toys. And I think every kid, every kid, first introduction to anything is always a toy. It is always toys. Like, it's not going to be an iPad right off the bat. It's going to be a toy. It's going to be always a
Or
toy.
even a card. Even a card. It's not a card. Kids, they don't give your 2-year-old a freaking card. They gave him a toy, a little figure. And that's why not only you're going to have like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's why the American Tomies, like the actual hard plastic figures, those have always had a little bit of a market that's a little more than underground. Because still, like the Nidorino, the Voltorbs that I have up there, those hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, the normal Tomies have had
a
proper established market for a long time, and the reason why is just because of the molding process of the toys themselves. They're much more accurate to what the Pokemon are supposed to look like versus Hasbro. Hasbro just butchered it. Like, I showed off a 10th anniversary factory seal top 10 Pokemon thing that has now like 125,000 views on TikTok, and the Typhlosion literally looks like a banana. Right? It's not accurate whatsoever. And the molding process was horrible. Like, every other toy company out there was doing a much better job. Tomy was doing a better job. Bandai was doing an amazing job in toy molding. That's why the Digimon toys for Bandai, even out of the box, hold so much more value compared to most American Hasbro Pokemon toys. Like, that's one thing Digimon can say beats in terms of Pokemon.
Dude, I would love to, if we ever do another podcast, I'd love to get on and talk about Digimon, dude. If we talk about Digimon, dude, I will.
The podcast is officially rebranded. And so now, I'm gonna tell people why we did the rebrand, right? And I think people kind of have been wondering about this, and why. And if I haven't explained it before, I will now. So the reason why, we're moving away from Poke Time to now it's called the Vaulted Podcast is because of the fact that, right now in 2022, where interest behind Pokemon isn't as high as what it was back in 2021. I mean, in 2020 and 2021, most people have pivoted to the next hottest thing. Whereas myself, I don't see myself moving to the next hottest thing. Instead, I want to be able to expand upon the things that I already collect more and wanted to discuss more. And that's Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, freaking Shrek if I want to, Neopets if I want to, Rick and Morty TCG if I want to, Y Schwartz.
I love it.
Like, and you know, eventually, you know, and the purpose behind this is to, you know, I see this in 5 years down the road, right? There's so many different parallels that us as, like, you know, just because I collect Pokemon does not mean I can relate to another collector who collects sneakers. Why? Because at the end of the day, the fundamentals are exactly the same. And at the core of it, we're both collectors, right? It's always important to draw parallels from other collectibles. Now, does that mean I'm telling you to collect Digimon? Absolutely not. I think it's just important just to listen and sit down, so that way you might pick up something. Yeah, that way you might actually pick up something that you don't know, and you might bring it back over to how you collect and your thought process when it comes to Pokemon, and you might actually find something super rare, right? Like, and that's sort of the process of this. And one, it's talking about marketability. Like, this would be beyond marketable in terms of different collectibles, in terms of sponsorships. It's endless, right? Like, for me, it's just that. Obviously, Pokemon will always be the core of this channel, and I will always talk about Pokemon. But like, I want to talk about Digimon sometimes. And when a podcast is called Poke Tea Time, you are constrained by that, right? I've had panels with voice actors that aren't even involved with Pokemon. I've had people from My Hero Academia and stuff like that. And it's like, what person is going to go to a Pokemon podcast and actually listen to the entirety of a panel where I'm talking to someone about My Hero Academia? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, it just does not register. And in terms of views, in terms of the back end of videos and stuff like that, in terms of algorithms, it just does not work. So like, that's the reason why it's behind all this. And obviously, I will have you on very, very soon to talk about Digimon, and I will be bringing on people who talk about Yu-Gi-Oh!, just so on and so forth. Like, there's just so much potential behind what I want to do, and that's just sort of the direction I want to take over. So
I would love
on that note,
yeah. I know.
Are there anything that you'd like to add, like final closing statements? Obviously, guys, please follow Cash_Ketchum on Instagram. That's right, Cash_Ketchum. Is there no numbers after that?
No, just that. Yeah.
Okay, cash as in like the money cash_Ketchum on Instagram. He's more than happy to answer any of your questions. This dude was answering any questions that I had when I only had like 1,000 to 2,000 followers on Instagram, and to this day, this dude still answers my questions. It's not about how big you are. It's not about it's never about the numbers. It's never about clout. It's not about that. What is it? It comes down to, why do people come to this hobby? Why do people join Instagram to essentially start out with? And that's to collect the things that we love. And if you can't find it, there's always going to be someone there to help you out with it, or to explain things better. 2, to create meaningful and lasting relationships. And then 3, it is important about all of this just to basically just have fun with it all, right? That is why we come into this hobby. It's not to add toxicity back to this community. It's to add actual merit and actual value, right? Like, it's really easy, and I'm being honest about this. It is super easy to be negative, right? It is super easy to talk down on someone and punch down on people in this community. It is super easy to do that. And I will talk about this in a second, Armando. I'm going to ask your question before we end this. I was saving it for the last, because he probably has done it before. So I'm glad you've stuck around these past 2 hours, Armando, because I appreciate that. But it's important to just I think it's important to create value for people, right? Like, what value am I bringing to you guys, the audience, if I'm just talking smack about someone? There's no added value. Instead, I'm just wasting your time and just making you dwell on someone that you don't even know, right? Like, just, it's added toxicity that does not matter. It doesn't add to anything. Now, are there actual issues in this community? 100%. Is there misogyny in this community? Absolutely. Is there people who conduct scams on a regular basis? Absolutely. Are there people who are absolute creeps towards women? Absolutely. Are there people who commit fraud and theft within this community? 100%. I think those are things worth highlighting. And if we are trying to criticize people, which and the thing is that if we're on social media, we are open to criticism. However, I think it's important to offer criticism in a much more respectful way. Ask people why they did X, Y, and Z. Ask people why they said X, Y, and Z versus taking something out of context and tying it up just to create clicks and views for people, right? And the biggest thing is this, right? When you're on a video and you're talking down on someone and you say that, hey, you don't hate this person, but then the comment section says otherwise, or you're whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, your comment section says otherwise, and it's completely negative and it's bullying, it's talking about violence or anything of the sort. I think at that point, that's not why you came into this community. I think at that point, people just really need to reevaluate what they're doing. And it's like, is this really worth my time? And if you are making those types of videos, good luck. I have nothing against you. It's just more so, my opinion, because I have been toxic before. I have been negative before. And that's not without saying, like, no person's perfect, but like, I can admit it. And the thing is that I've 100% changed my tune to the point where it's like, I just only solely want to add value. And that is it. That's it. And that's all I care about is collecting, making people happy, providing information, and just doing what I can to further my own goals as a collector and a content creator. That is it. But again, guys, we will have Cash Ketchum back. I hope you guys do really enjoy this podcast. I do want to hear your thoughts. So when this video is actually published and you're already someone who watches this, I think it's super important to just provide a little bit of important commentary in the comment section. Do not be negative. And if you do want to see Cash Ketchum again, I don't care. If you don't, he's gonna be back. I'm gonna be absolutely honored to have you again. We did not get to touch on your Harry Goodman.
Harry Goodman, the Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, we did not get to talk about that, but we'll talk about that later on. And I'm super stoked to talk about that in the future. Probably in August, I'll bring you back on again. And Alex PSX, we will be talking about Pokemon Plush. I want to have the right person. I might have Nicole Collar on here, depending on her mood, and go from there. Armando Oliveras asked, when you were shiny hunting and you were a hardcore shiny collector at that time, were you trying to color match your shiny Pokemon, or have you ever, and be honest, have you ever been guilty of color matching your shiny Pokemon with the Pokeballs?
100% always. I actually, if you look at my YouTube as well, I am the world's first documented person to get a shiny Giratina from the Distortion world, which is known as the hardest shiny to get, to catch.
At that time.
Because at that time, because actually only recently, 2 weeks prior to my video, which was also last month, no one had ever caught one without a Master Ball. It just kills itself. It's insanely difficult. No one else wanted to shiny. It's like the most failed shiny legendary. I was the first one to catch it in a dive ball. And obviously, because it matches blue and white with the blue and yellow and all that stuff. Same with freaking shiny Rotom with a Premier Ball. Trust me, 100%. That's all I do. So yeah, 100%.
Hey, I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to color match that, but I mean, hey, more power to you. Alex PSX, as far as a co-host update, no, there will not be any co-host updates whatsoever. I do not plan on having a co-host whatsoever. I'm more than happy to rock this out and bring you guys guests every single week. I don't need a co-host to do what I'm already doing. So unless they're providing a substantial amount of value and they're already doing a lot of work behind it, then that's only the real way of doing that. But no, I don't plan on doing that. I just solely I plan on running this solo, and obviously I have people behind me that are willing to help me out as far as like editing goes, or just ideas or concepts behind it. So like I always have Alex Hodges. Shout out to Alex Hodges for always, being that sound source of reasoning behind it. I always have Jordan Fringe, who's always a sound person who always gives me advice when it comes to all this stuff, as well as Kang. He's an editor of mine. He doesn't do too much with the channel, but he manages certain things that I'm just too busy to manage, like being able to put all these podcasts up on Spotify, on our hosting feed on Buzzsprout. It gets I'm already doing 5 different things, and so like if he handles that 1 or 2 thing that's off my plate, I appreciate that. And so like he does that for me. As far as like actual editing goes, I've been doing all my reels by myself. I've been doing everything with the channel. So like Obviously, I don't have a co-host anymore. But since then, we've more than doubled the channel since then. And just to give you guys an idea of the progress of the channel, and this is no negativity towards anyone, the channel itself has had, in the past 4 weeks, the channel has had 33% of, it literally makes, in the past 3 weeks, it has made, the videos that I've put up has made up almost 30 to 33% of the lifetime views of this channel since we started this back in April of last year. So
Yeah.
that's great for us, and we're almost
Awesome,
at
dude.
1,000. Guys, again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 1,000. Even though this channel isn't monetized, we do have sponsors. Let me go ahead and touch on the specifically real fast before we end it. We have TCG Stadium. It is a online card shop. Make sure you guys check out tcgstadium.com. Jimmy's son is the right person to go to. He is the guy that will take care of you when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, when it comes to modern stuff. Make sure you go check out the website. Check out the Pokemon Network. Ken Lee is this guy that runs around with the Charizard onesie at every show. He will bug you, or he will not bug you, but he has, the biggest box collection. He has big cards, affordable cards, everything in between. He's your one-stop shop. If you're looking for something, if you're looking for someone to source you out something, he is your guy. He will know who to find it from. He will find it for you. Like, I kid you not. Follow him. It's not just a flex. It's all about, he's actually a really good person. Yeah. Make sure you follow him. Do that. Then finally, we have Double Infinity Gaming. It's an online local card shop based out in South Florida. But they predominantly focus on Magic the Gathering. They have modern Pokemon stuff, but they focus on Magic the Gathering. As this channel grows, and starting next week, we might talk about Magic the Gathering. Who knows? I have some pretty cool, sick guests lined up for next week and the week after, leading up to the National. Super pumped. And guys, I'm not going to reveal the news yet. I kind of told Connor here already, but I don't think he understood it completely. But I've had life-changing... I had an email 2 days ago that's life-changing for me when it comes to content. And, it being the first time ever that I received, an opportunity like this. And I've received opportunities close to it, but this is something that's going to be... that I hope that it's going to be long-lasting, because that, to me, will mean a lot. It means a lot of funding will be able to go to this channel, and it will be able to go, it'll be put behind things that needs to be done. Like, I need an editor, I need a videographer on deck, like whenever I travel. Like, this is life-changing money on a monthly basis, and I kid you not, I'm super duper stoked about this, and you guys will know very, very soon. Yeah, it is a partnership. It's not a sponsorship, but it is a partnership. And I'm super, like, you guys have no idea. Like, when I got it, I was proud of you, man. I was beyond emotional. Like, you guys will know, but I legit cried. Like, I told my parents, and they were pretty much pumped about it. Like, it's crazy. And honestly, it's something that I've been working towards for the past 3 years, ever since I started making content here. And yeah, again, I had to thank it. You guys don't have to say thank you to me or congratulations to me. I want to say thank you to you guys. Like, and for the people who do watch this, like, I know we don't have people watching this right now as much as we normally do because it is a Saturday, but we will have people who do watch us after the fact. And I just want to say thank you to I want to say thank you. Like, thank you is just not enough. Like, I kid you not. I want, thank you guys. Oh, by the way, because we are leading up to 1,000, I did say I'm doing a giveaway of this, and it already concluded yesterday. If you are a subscriber, you're already automatically added to this. But I am giving this away right here. I'm giving this Biyumon, Garudamon, and Bergamon Shikishi card right here away to one of you guys. And yeah, it's just a way of saying thank you for us hitting 1,000, for being here on a consistent basis. It'll be given out to one subscriber. And don't worry, there'll be more stuff given away. I might give out some of my other Shikishis that I just got to you guys. And yeah, I just, again, thank you for just being there. So on that note, Connor, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm happy. Hey, if you need a security guard once you start getting big, let me know. But besides that, dude, I'm super proud. I'm super blessed. Like I said, God bless you for having me on
Oh, I'll
here.
tell
I'm
you after the
super
stream what it
happy.
is. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you caught it in our DMs, but
Yeah.
I'll talk more about it. But on that note,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, on that note, guys, I thank you guys so much. We'll see you Tuesday on the next. Well, we have Pokey Dean coming on the podcast, which is one of Pokey Chloe's partners in crime from the UK. He's coming on Wednesday. And then we have, I'm trying to get Brown Eyes set up for Tuesday and then possibly
Perfect.
something for Thursday or next week. But we have lots of people coming up. I'm trying to get Ryan Bader, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from Liquid Marketplace. He's the other co-founder alongside with Logan Paul. I'm trying to get him before the 25th for certain reasons, and then I do want to have Alec Pokemon for Rare Candy coming on before the 25th as well.
Dude, all good
Great guy.
people. All
Great guy.
those are good people.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
And I plan on
Awesome.
having Blastoise Kid coming on as well. So that's and I have two twins coming in from it's not more of like a Pokemon thing, but these two twins blew up on TikTok. They got banned because they were doing the whole Gideon thing against Pokemon at that time. But these two twins combined had well over 8 million followers on TikTok. They now work together with Daps from Daps Sports. So we are going to throw in a little bit of content creating a conversation as well as sports conversation onto this mix. And we have Jeremy Padower coming on very, very soon as well. So lots and lots of good, great people coming on.
Man.
And yeah, just thank you guys again. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.